There, we did. Okay. That was so ridiculously stupid. I don't know why we couldn't get on here, but I'm sorry that we're late. Technology is being dumb. My phone would not go to landscape for whatever reason. So hopefully everyone is finding this now. Let me try to set this up. Hold on, because now I'm in the wrong thing. And then I gotta find, we had to switch phones. So we're doing this on Sarah's phone. Okay, hold on.
That was very stressful.
It was so stressful. I don't like when technology doesn't work the way it's supposed to. It's just so frustrating. Okay, wait a second. What did I do? Hold on. Yes, Mom. I'm still going live.
Respond to our text.
I know. I need to text you. Hold on. Oh my gosh. Hi. Okay, we're here. I don't know. Technology's being stupid today. And then I'm having the worst weekend ever. So just things aren't cooperating the way I want them to. But we're here now. We managed to get it to cooperate. Yep, okay. I'm trying to text my mom because she can't find us. Yes, okay. Okay. Now we had to find the questions because I had that on Sarah's phone, which we're now filming on. So, Sarah, what was it? What did I search for earlier?
You texted me.
Yeah, I know. I sent you the link.
The text.
Oh, that's right. That would be easier. Okay, hold on. Where did... No, my mom can't get in. Here, okay. Everything will be fine. So, anyway... We read the 5th season and we're ready to talk about it, I think. Kind of, sort of. I don't know. Where did the questions go? Okay, there they are. Right there. All right. Sarah, take my phone. Just take it. I can't anymore. Now. Okay, so I think we should start with just our initial thoughts about the book. So, Sarah, do you want to go first?
Not really. Okay. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Like, I always get really anxious and like worried going into an adult fantasy because I'm more used to young adult fantasies. So I always get really intimidated, but this honestly wasn't that difficult a read. Like there's a lot of content and a lot of crazy stuff going on, but honestly I didn't find it too difficult of a read. Not quite as bad as you seem to find it.
I was confused, like most of the book.
I was confused too, but
I'm not a fantasy reader for the most part. I have like certain kinds of fantasy I enjoy. I would say I lean more towards like historical fantasy and portal fiction and that sort of thing. This confused me for most of the book. I think I was about 2/3 of the way through when I thought I was understanding things. And then like every time I thought I was getting it, things would get more confusing. So I appreciate the book, but I felt lost most of it. So I don't know. I think this is either a case of me trying to do too many things at once because I'm never reading just one book. I've always got like projects I'm working on. So I don't know if it was just a case of like I had too many other things going and I couldn't devote all of my brain to this, or if this was just a little beyond me. But I don't know. I will say I enjoyed the experience. Even if I was confused, I still enjoyed it. So I don't know. I gave it 4 stars.
I gave it 5 stars. I liked the immersive quality of just like diving into a brand new world that I know nothing about. So
I like when things are explained a little more. I felt like nothing was explained and I was just supposed to know things. And it wasn't until I was like, not quite halfway, but almost halfway, that I realized that there was an appendix that had like vocabulary and stuff.
I didn't read the appendix.
So I just kind of like kept flipping back once I realized that. And I was like, oh, wait, explain it better here. And probably like by the time I finished the book, I had forgotten what happened at the beginning. And then I went back and reread the prologue. And I was like, oh, now this makes sense, because the prologue made no sense when I read it.
I didn't. The prologue made me nervous because when I was reading the prologue, I was like, oh no, this is going to be a confusing book. But then I got into the first couple actual chapters. I was like, okay, I'm comfortable now. But I never read the appendixes. I just didn't want to because it seemed.
I wish
boring.
I knew that the appendix was there. But when I started, I would have read that first and like acquainted myself better, I think. I feel like this is a book that if I reread it, I'm going to get a lot more out of it, knowing things ahead of time, because I just didn't get most of it as I was reading. So honestly, if I had just picked this up for just fun, I probably would have DNF'd it. But because it was for the book club, I like pushed myself through. And I'm glad that I did, because I'm glad that I read it. But I'm not sure I understand a lot of it still. And perhaps that would, like, if I continue the series, maybe things will be answered at some point.
I'm definitely going to read the rest of them, probably long before you do.
Yeah, well, I bought the next book. It won't be here for, like, till the end of next week, I think. But I'm not going to read it right now. I have too many other things to read. But yeah, I don't know. I just felt a little bit overwhelmed by the story. So, let's see. Yeah, the beginning is definitely confusing and hard to get into. I agree with that. So I don't know, I found some questions that we could use to kind of lead our discussion, so I don't just sit here and tell you guys how confused I was all the time. But I don't know, let's just go through. So the first question is, what comparisons do you see Jemison drawing between the oppression of the Arrrghs and real world occurrences? How well do you think this was handled? I actually thought that was probably the most interesting aspect of the book, was the way she wrote about the oppression and how they were treated by people in society and that sort of thing. So I really appreciated how she did that. I don't know, like I'm struggling with words today. But I thought it was a really good parallel. Sarah, would you want to add anything to that?
I felt like that aspect of the world building was the easiest to understand.
Yeah, definitely.
It was more of a mirror of our world. So
Yeah.
some of the more ridiculous fantasy elements were a little confusing at first, but
yeah, I agree. That was probably the easiest thing to accept about their world, was the one that looked so familiar to our world. So yeah, I agree. So, okay. Did you find the prologue useful or overly expository? Was it odd to read something that seemed to be directly addressing you, the reader, in such a familiar way? And did you find it distracting, or did it help pull you in? I didn't understand the prologue at all until I went back and read it again after. And then I was like, oh, I felt like it should have, like that prologue maybe should have been like not the very end of the book, but like towards the end of the book, and it would have made things make more sense.
I mean, I liked the non-linear storytelling format it used, so I understand why the prologue is positioned where it is. But yeah, it was really confusing, even for me. Like, the prologue scared me, because I was going into it like, oh no, I don't understand what I'm reading. Is the whole book gonna look like this?
Yeah, but I didn't get it, and I didn't quite know what I was supposed to get from it. But yeah, reading it again after, it kind of all clicked into place, or at least some of it clicked into place, and I understood what was happening. But yeah, I really feel like it's not, I don't know, like you have to read all of it to understand, perhaps. And I don't know when I'm going to be able to do that, but I do feel like maybe it would like start to come together more.
I do not even remember what the prologue is anymore. I should probably read it too.
Well, I think the prologue is basically like explaining how Alabaster is destroying the world with the Stone Eater. And so yeah, without any explanation, just kind of tossing that out into the ether, like I didn't understand what was happening at all.
I think I got to a point where I was kind of like skimming it, because I was just like, I don't think I know what's happening.
Like, I think I read someone say that was an info dump, and I was like, it was the opposite of an info dump, because I didn't get any info from it. Usually, at least an info dump, I'm like understanding like what this world is and how it works.
It's like reading a textbook of a class you're not taking.
You're like, okay, yeah, I definitely didn't know what was going on there at all. So I don't know. I didn't feel like it was useful for me reading it, but going back and reading it after, makes more sense. So if you didn't do that, I suggest that you go now and read the prologue again.
Okay.
After finishing the book, because then it makes sense. Let's see. Did you find the second person chapters distracting, or did they help anchor you to Essen?
I have discovered a newfound love and obsession with second person narration. Like, I've been like writing in second person in my creative writing classes because I'm just like, this is really cool. So I really enjoyed that aspect of this book. Like, I like the immersive quality of it, where it's not first person, like it's closer than first person because you're not reading from the character's perspective, but you become the character. So you're seeing things exactly as Essen sees them. So I really enjoy that.
I wasn't against the second person at all. I mean, the only book I've read that was written in second person, I hated.
Well, and that's because it's a different form of second person.
Yeah, because I read You by Carolyn Kepnes, and I did not like that at all. But I didn't like it for lots of reasons. But second person was like just not helping it. But this was the first time I'd read a book in second person where I didn't dislike it, and I didn't like it more because of that. It was just, it worked within the story, I felt.
The book I'm currently reading, which is an arc of or What You Will by Jo, I forgot her last name, but it's a really cool book, and it had one chapter that played with the idea of second person, and the narrator character was like, yeah, isn't second person weird? Let's stop doing this. And then the next chapter it went out of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I can see where it would not work in some instances, but I felt like it worked pretty well within this story. So, but did it help me to like get to know Essen more? I don't know that did, but I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. I'm sorry ahead of time. This is going to be like the worst book discussion because I am exhausted. I didn't sleep like at all last night. And I've just been like pumping myself with caffeine all day, and it's not helping. So I'm going to do my best though. Okay. Okay, so were you surprised by the reveal that all three narrators were the same woman at different points in her life? I will say that from the beginning, I kept thinking that Demaya and Essen were the same person at different points, but I was convinced almost the whole book that Cyanite was a different character, completely separate from the two of them. And when the reveal for Cyanite happened first, I went, what? And I was like, no, was I wrong? And then my mother spoiled me because when I told her what my thoughts were, and she says, what makes you think that's not true, Emily? So I was like, thanks, Mom. So you're confirming. So she kind of spoiled me there. So after that, I started like putting it together, and I could see that they were all the same person. But I knew that, and honestly, I think it's because of The Witcher. And you said the same thing.
Well, see, my perspective of it was different.
So somehow, having watched The Witcher and like already being confused by a show that was in like multiple timelines.
It was not a confusing show.
So confusing.
It was not.
Fine, Sarah, whatever. You're smarter than me. but like going from that to this, I was sort of prepared, I guess, for my brain to accept that this was different timelines, but I still didn't quite grasp fully what I was reading until it was like explained to me in the book.
I was completely surprised by all of it. Like I knew there were different timelines, like that makes sense, but I thought that like an older Demaya was going to meet up with Cyanite or Essen and then realize that they were all the same person was all very surprising. I was mind blown by this book, unlike you. That was not.
I was too confused for my mind to be blown. I don't know. Like I wanted it to be. I wanted like my mind to be blown, and I'm kind of frustrated that didn't happen. But perhaps with the second book, if I continue the series. But I don't know. Let's see. Okay, we get many hints of advanced technology that still lingers, and the story of Father Earth talks about environmental pollution and fracking. Do you think it's possible the stillness is a post-apocalyptic version of our own world, does this tie in with the final line of the book somehow? So by the time I got to the end of the book and I read the final line, I thought immediately that they were going to try to get access to a moon. And that started me like, I've been like ruminating on this for days. Like I finished the book on Sunday. So I've been thinking about it like all week. So my theory is that, let's see if I can be coherent. My theory is that this is Earth, but like way in the future after some kind of like apocalyptic thing happens and the moon gets destroyed. And now the Earth is constantly like going through these weird apocalyptic phases because without the moon to help regulate it, things are just haywire. And now they're going to try to get a moon so that they can like fix the Earth. And I sound like a crazy person.
We're going to go to the moon store.
Aliens. It's aliens. No, but I think like, and I'm going to say based on how Alabaster was able to draw on Cyanite's powers, that he's going to somehow like draw from all of the origins, because I noticed they were all sort of collecting together. And so I'm wondering if they're going to like some kind of like, I don't know, build their own power source where they can like draw a moon to the Earth and make it normal again. Because also I was thinking like it's all one continent except these little islands, and I'm wondering if this is like reverse Pangea where it all comes back together again because of the shifting plates so much. So anyway, I'm convinced now that that's what's happening here, and I don't know. I guess perhaps I'll have to read and see if I'm right, but I feel like I'm right. What do you think?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Cool theory.
Cool theory, bro. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's our Earth just way in the future. So that's my grand theory. Maybe it's right or wrong. Who knows? I just liked it. But yeah, I just was thinking about that whole do you know what a moon is thing for days. Like, what is he talking about? So anyway, was the world building overwhelming? Did you find the appendix helpful? What do you still find confusing in terms of world building? So much. The biggest thing for me that I don't really understand is the whole obelisk thing. Obelisk or obelisk? I don't know how you say it. I feel like it's obelisk. I don't know. Anyway, that I don't get at all. I don't know what they are. I don't know how they relate to the origins, how they relate to the Stone Eaters. They're somehow all connected. And they were talking about like, this is where they made it. And that whole scene in the room with no doors was so confusing. I don't know what was happening. I don't understand the significance. And then what I tabbed it because I was like, this scene right here,
It's
where
my favorite scene,
where Cyanite is standing there and she wonders if the Stone Eater within the obelisk is all right. And then it's just like, I'm fine, thanks for asking. I was like, what? I was so baffled by that. That's the moment I actually closed the book and just went, I don't know, guys. I don't know what's happening. But like, I don't know. I was so confused by all of that. And like, I don't know.
I didn't find the appendixes helpful because I did not read them.
You didn't even look at them?
No.
Did you know they were there?
Yes, I knew they were there because you told me. But
yeah.
Like,
Well.
I started reading them, like, as I got to them after I finished the book, I was like, I don't want to read this, so I didn't. So, maybe you understand things better than I do.
I don't think I do. No, I don't know. Like, I just don't understand what was happening there, but the second book is called, like, Obelisk Gate, so I'm assuming that there will be more of that in the next book to explain it.
Also, the next book is purple. That means it's going to be the best of the trilogy.
I don't know. I guess we'll see. I'm very bad at continuing series. I am notorious for starting a series and then never coming back and finishing, regardless of how much I liked it. So maybe I'll continue this because I'm like, I want to not be confused. I want to understand. So I'm hoping that if I read the whole thing, it'll all make sense. So I guess. But yeah, I wish that I had known like that the appendix was there in the back earlier in my journey through this book. Okay, which is more menacing, stone eaters or obelisks? And what do you think the purpose of the obelisk is? I don't know. Why did the Guardians create them? What is the connection between the obelisks, the stone eaters, and the Arrrghs?
I like the stone eaters. They're cool.
They're kind of creepy. I found them like almost menacing. They were just, I don't know. But I don't know what the obelisk is. So I don't know if I would say it's more menacing because I don't know what it is. I couldn't quite grasp what was going on there. Obviously, they're dangerous. I mean, I'm assuming it was the obelisk that destroyed that entire city, right? Or was it the stone eater being inside the obelisk? Or is that how stone eaters are made?
No, it's their birthplace. You were watching one be born.
That's why he was fine, thanks.
It's so polite.
Maybe. I don't know.
See, stone eaters are adorable.
Are they though?
I want one as a pet.
I was confused by Hoa. This is the name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hoa being a child but not a child. And I don't know. That was an interesting reveal with the with Hoa like being the one that's telling us the story and that or telling Essen the story. So I think actually Essen's story was the one I found the most confusing of the three. Because there was the least happening.
And also hers was the least clear because we're viewing things entirely from her perspective.
So I didn't
she
quite
doesn't know
get
some things
any
that we
of that.
know.
Yeah.
But the other perspectives were more
yeah, probably.
I forgot what word I was looking for.
I think Demaya's was my favorite perspective because it had the whole like she had the easiest storyline to understand. She was a small child who had dangerous powers. She was brought to a school where she would learn like I know that story and I was able to like understand it and follow it better. Whereas the other two storylines, I didn't quite know what was happening or why it was happening.
I remembered what word I was looking for. Omniscient perspective.
There you go. Fancy vocabulary.
Yes, I'm a creative writing student.
We can tell. No, but and the Guardians, I still don't quite understand. And I feel like it was sort of explained in the story, but also not, because I don't quite understand why they have the power that they do. I think they were kind of insinuating that they took that power and because they're created, right? And that they somehow take a power, then use it against the Arrrghs, right? When he pulled the thing out of the other one's head, he said something to the effect of like, I wish I'd tabbed that, the effect of that we don't have this power naturally, we have to take it. So I don't know how they take it though. How does that happen? Is that a process that gets explained later? I don't know. But that was all very creepy. And that they can like make an Arrrghn basically implode was very weird. I don't know. The whole thing was weird. They're very, very creepy. So I don't know, of all of the things, I think the Guardians are probably the scariest just because of the power that they wield and how they use it was very disturbing. So I don't know, but definitely creepy. Okay, what do you think Alabaster's ultimate goal is? To get revenge, to start over? Why do you think the Stone Eaters are working with him? I'm not sure what his grand plan is because I can understand his frustration with the world. Like he states at some point, like you can't fix this without completely destroying it and starting over. So is that what he's going for? A complete destruction and reset? And if so, like, how does he affect the reset and not just going back to what it already was? Is what I'm wondering. Like, I don't know what happens after that. What happens after you ruin and destroy everything?
Sometimes just destroying a world is really satisfying.
I guess. I mean, from his perspective, I could see it being satisfying to destroy this mess that they're in. But I don't know, like, where he's going with it. Especially if he's trying to get a moon. That wouldn't destroy it. That would correct it, right? So what specifically is he trying to destroy?
Corrective destruction. So it'll destroy and it'll probably kill a lot of people still, regardless of it.
Well, yeah, no, obviously he's already killed a lot of people.
It's an
just doing what he's
event,
done.
But it'll lead to a potential better future.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that there's something here with the
Stone Eaters aren't gonna die.
But
so
no,
like,
so
yeah.
So yeah. So does this mean he's helping the Stone Eaters to take over? Like, and I still don't quite know, are they good or bad?
He told them.
What?
He told them that if they help him, we can look at all the stones he wanted.
Wow, Sarah.
It's a great deal.
You guys destroy the fulcrum and I will provide you rocks. I can see that being their deal. Sure. All right. And then the last question was just, are you going to read the second book? Maybe. Eventually. I did buy it. I purchased the second book. So potentially I will read it. I mean, yeah. So I do think he wants revenge on the Fulcrum and the Guardians. Mm-hmm. Definitely. That's certain. I'm just not sure how he's going to go about it.
So that they won't survive, but the Origins will. Maybe like a world where the Origins
are the only ones left, and then they have to build the world back. Well, that would make sense. I can see that being his potential like end goal is to just eliminate anyone who isn't them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's an interesting possibility. But I don't know. I'm gonna have to try and like read the second book and see if it's maybe less confusing. I would hope. I would hope that I'm this far in. I understand a little bit now about the world. I would hope that I would be able to get it enough to like get through the book.
I will let you know when I read it.
Yeah, you probably will, because I don't know when I'm going to get to it. I have too many other things to read right now. So do you have any final like thoughts? Final thoughts with Sarah?
I liked the representation in it, like the polyamorous relationship and Tonkin.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that. Yeah. That was very interesting to read. I don't think I've ever read a book with a polyamorous relationship. That's probably first for me.
My first one too.
So yeah, I think I did appreciate that quite a bit.
Oh no, you read something. I haven't read it. The Wicker King. That you didn't like.
That had a polyamorous relationship in it? I have no memory of that. I didn't like that book, and I didn't get that either. So I feel like I missed half of that book. I read it really fast, and it was missing all the pictures. I totally forgot that had polyamory in it. Oh, yeah. I can see that. I'm not sure if I'm going to read the rest. This book was a little rough on moms of toddlers. Yeah. It was hard to read about some of the stuff that they do with the children too. The nodes, that all of Alabaster's children were nodes, and that was pretty awful. So I totally understand why he'd want to destroy this society that they are in. So, but yeah, I do think I want to try to read the second book though, because I don't want to be confused forever. I want to understand what's going on here. So I do think I'll probably eventually pick up the sequel. And maybe after Sarah's read it and can tell me, will I be more confused or less confused?
Probably more confused.
Probably more confused. I don't do a lot of fantasy like this because I have a really hard time getting my brain adjusted to a whole new world. Whereas I prefer fantasy where it's still a world I'm familiar with, and I just, now we have some magical elements added to it. Like the Night Circus was a lot of fun. And it's like Harry Potter is easy.
I feel like the Night Circus doesn't have a lot of plot. It's more of an aesthetic
than
anything else.
But like that sort of thing is more my jam. I think the only other fantasy I read that is totally fantasy is like Discworld and Lord of the Rings, both of which I think are easier to like understand the world because they're very similar
Also,
in some
Game
ways.
of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, but again, Game of Thrones is so like typical medieval setting that it's not as confusing to get into. So I don't know.
I like it when it's like a very different world and like nothing makes sense yet, and I have to like learn all the new things. I know I like the immersion of that kind of story. So I didn't mind being confused because like our world is confusing. I don't understand stuff that goes on around here, so like it's not any different than real life.
When you're always confused, everything's confusing. Oh, it's okay. But anyway. Oh, I'm so tired. So anyhow, I hope you guys all had fun with this book anyway and enjoyed it. And where did it go? Oh, it's on my other side. No, I knew it was behind me. So this is the book we're going to be reading this month. I haven't started it yet, but I'm excited because this is, I don't know, I feel like the opposite of the 5th season, whereas it's supposed to be light and fluffy and kind of fun and heartwarming. So I'm very much in the mood for that. Yeah, I've been dying to read this. I've seen a few different people talk about it. Sean McGuire blurbs it on the front, and it sounds wonderful. There's a Were-Pomeranian child.
Like,
the Antichrist. Like, I know, they had me at Were-Pomeranian, honestly. So I'm very, very excited to read that because my brain needs light, fluffy, happy, heartwarming fun.
Wasn't this like described as like middle grade for adults?
Yes. Middle grade for adult. Thank you. That is what I need right now. That is what my brain can handle. Also, it just sounds very fun. But this is I what did I read? Did I see that this was like very Douglas Adams-ish, very Discworld-ish? Like if Douglas Adams and Terry Pratchett had a baby and it was a book, it would be this. So
that would be really weird.
It would, but you know, their stuff is weird, so it would make sense. So anyway, I'm excited. I don't know when the live show will be, probably in the beginning of June, I think, because now we're a week in and I haven't had time to read it yet. But I will. So yeah, I hope you guys are all able to get a copy of The House in the Cerulean Sea so you can read that with us in May. This is May. This is May. So you can read that with us this month. And yeah, it'll be fun. So I'm excited for that. So anyway, thank you guys for coming. I'm sorry this was such a wonky live stream. It was not my best. But that is the weekend that I'm having. So anyway, thanks for coming and hanging out with us and talking about the book. It was fun. And we'll see you guys next time. Happy reading.
Bye.
Bye.